Hey guys, welcome back. Before we get started today, I want to let you know something that's really, really important to us. If you want to keep this show going and keep getting awesome guests like the one you're about to see, Tom Kenny, aka SpongeBob, we need your help. We need you to fill out this survey. If you do fill out the survey, you're going to have a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So it's not all bad. Take some time, fill out the survey, and that way we can keep making this awesome show for you guys. We love making it. We don't want to stop, and it's going to help us out a lot. So Elliot, tell them where they can do this.
We promise not to share or sell your email address. We won't send you email unless you win. Please go to podsurvey.com/ask. Again, that's podsurvey.com/ask. Take the survey, and then you get a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card.
So thank you guys very much. If you go do that, that would be awesome. And here is our AUA or AMA or whatever with Tom Kenny, aka SpongeBob.
So here we are. We're back with another ETC AMA, and this week,
Pretty epic week.
pretty goddamn great. We got Tom Kenny here.
Wow.
The voice of your childhood.
Pretty much every cartoon character that we grew up watching, including SpongeBob SquarePants, who we're here to talk about today for the most part, but we're gonna ask a bunch of questions.
Cool. I'm ready to answer.
Before we get started,
Scandalous.
tell us about this new movie.
I just saw the movie last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if I'm going to be talking about the movie, can I see it?
Yeah.
You know? And it was just tremendous, man. I saw it with there was little kids there, tweens, teens, middle-aged people, grandparents, hipsters, and everybody was laughing. It was like, oh, cool, you know. And it's really a weird movie. I mean, it's.
Well, it's SpongeBob.
It's Willy Wonka. It's Willy Wonka, never-ending story kids movie. Weird, it's just insane, and travels through time and space. I guess it's kind of like what.
And reality and animation, it seems, yeah.
Well, there's 2D animation, 3D animation, 3D CGI, live action, and even puppets. There's even puppets in the movie. So it's like, it really casts a wide net of visual styles more than most animated movies do. And I think that's just kind of like what SpongeBob's always been about, is like, you don't have that 6 years of R&D that like a Pixar movie has, where you write a script and then you throw it out after working on it for 4 years and start from scratch. We didn't have the wherewithal to do that. So it's just let's make it as crazy and insane and fun for the audience as possible.
Yeah.
The SpongeBob's like one of those shows. It was like the first one I really started picking up on the stuff that was inserted in a lot,
we got to be that age
subtly for older kids and adults.
As well, yeah.
I mean, is there going to be a lot of stuff like that in the movie?
Yeah, there is. There's stuff that works on multiple levels.
Because there's certainly people that maybe not necessarily at a young age grew up on SpongeBob, but were heavily aware of it and watched it as teenagers that now have their own kids that are bringing them to see this movie.
That's true. I mean, we did the pilot in 1997. It's been a series since 1999. So what's that, like 15 years or something? So longer than that, right?
Yeah, 97 to now would be.
Actor bad at math.
That's like
18 years. 16 years
so
since
wait,
it premiered
6
then,
plus 7 is 26, right? So it's there is that thing starting to happen now with SpongeBob where you'll be at a Comic-Con or something like that, and people will just come up and just basically say what you said. Wow, thanks for you're the soundtrack of my childhood, and people really like, because if their childhood was great, they associate you with this great thing. If their childhood was not great, you were kind of an escape for them from things.
I thought you were going to say they hate you and they associate you with their terrible childhood.
No, I think SpongeBob. I think cartoons.
My parents were too hooked on SpongeBob. They didn't have any time for me.
I wanted to watch PBS, but my parents made me watch SpongeBob all the time.
I could have been the next Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I'll bet he likes SpongeBob too.
Oh, I'm sure he does. So. Yeah, I'm sure he dissects the actual scientific stuff around it all the time too, like with Interstellar.
Actually, sponges.
It wouldn't survive that.
It wouldn't survive that.
There actually is a species of mushroom named after SpongeBob.
Oh, really?
And it looks like SpongeBob. So the scientists, you can Google this. The actual name of the species of mushroom is like Spongocephalus, whatever. And so SpongeBob finds his way into weird areas of the culture, and
he's a huge star. He's one of the biggest animated characters of all time.
and people just have really goodwill towards him. Like, even after all,
he's the happiest person, no matter what.
You can't not like SpongeBob.
Exactly.
He's got this like sort of childlike kind of naivete and ignorance, but he's not stupid.
Patrick is stupid.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that works about SpongeBob's and Patrick's relationship, is that like everyone thinks Patrick is stupid.
Yeah.
You know, he's a moron. He's an idiot. But SpongeBob doesn't see that at all. Like, to him, Patrick's the smartest guy in the room. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this guy knows things, you know? And I think there's also something about the animated format. You know, animated characters don't age. They always stay the same.
Yeah.
And there's like a comfort food factor that happens with animated characters, and people find it reassuring that they're still around. Like, you know, like when they try to update classic animated characters, it's hardly ever a good idea. You know?
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to see Tweety Bird dressed in rapper clothes.
Oh, yeah. We've seen it.
Although you do see that. Yeah, you see that. And you go, really? No. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's classic Coke. Don't mess with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's Heinz 57 ketchup. It works. It's worked for 100 years. Don't mess with it. You don't need to update these things. And SpongeBob is the same, even though there's a lot of you know, visual bells and whistles and new levels for him in this movie. The characters are still who they've always been, and you know, I like that. You know, it's not like Breaking Bad or something where there's this giant character arc where he's a different guy at the end of the season than he was.
I would love to see a SpongeBob rendition of Breaking Bad play out in full length. It would be the greatest thing.
Mr. Krabs would be Gus.
I gotta make a lot of money really fast, okay?
Patrick would be.
If I cook up some of this stuff in a trailer. All right. I want to provide for Sandy after I'm gone.
Oh my God. Well, that was incredible. We just
Walter
got that.
Yellow.
Someone's going to animate that, I'm absolutely sure. So let's get into the questions that you guys provided to us, and thank you for doing so. We do this pretty much every week, and check our subreddit, and we're going to be having a lot of guests on, and you can submit questions to them. So let's get into it. The first one, sorry if any of these usernames are crazy. I think the first one's fine. Insane Twig asks, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Wow, Insane Twig. I would have to say classic Looney Tunes, like we were talking about. That was big. And
Was Mel Blanc like a big inspiration?
Yeah, he was huge. He was like my Babe Ruth, you know what I mean? Like, he was all the voiceover guys, like Mel Blanc is the guy. But I loved Bullwinkle and Rocky, and I especially loved, I'm old enough that, you know, I grew up, you know, when they would show those crazy old Max Fleischer 30s Popeye cartoons and Betty Boop and stuff in the morning, and those were just like totally from space, like these jazz age cartoons with cool music, and they really like melted my brain, you know, in a way where it's like those cartoons just became part of my DNA. And I didn't realize that till later. You know, till you're growing up and you go, wow. And maybe SpongeBob is, like we were talking about earlier, like maybe that SpongeBob is that
the
for
Bugs
some
Bunny
kids
for
now. You know, like maybe the thing that melted their brain and is going to make them wacky adults that make cool oddball.
He definitely
things.
like harbors creativity, and like I would say inspires a lot of people that would grow up with that into trying to do something like you do, or you know.
Yeah, I think so, because it sounds so corny, but look, I get so many cards and letters from the kids, but you really do, you know, and you really do hear from and get letters from people that go, oh, you know, I want to be a voice actor, I want to be an animator, and because of you, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it.
But I will say, my favorite cartoon growing up was Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh, great.
So thank you for your work on that.
That was a hoot.
It's honestly like,
I love that show.
SpongeBob, Rocko's, Ren and Stimpy, like those kind of shows were the ones that I was like, okay, this isn't like a cartoon like what's being spoon-fed to me on Saturday morning. This is
and that's what was like what I liked about SpongeBob too is how where Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's were like pretty far off the deep end looking back. SpongeBob still has that kind of adult humor, but it's hidden in this like childlike wonderment the entire time.
Yeah, well, it's funny, like most of the show creators of animated shows that we're talking about, you know, Joe Murray with Rocko, or even like, you know, Craig McCracken with Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Gendy Tartakovsky with Dexter's Lab. They're all very childlike people, or I should say they're very functional guys who get stuff done, but they have like
they can turn
they're very in touch with their childlike
yeah.
side. They remember what being a kid was like, and they have a real sense of wonder that I think comes out in their work. And I think that's like the through line between pretty much everybody I've ever worked on a series with, in terms of, or you know, that's created a series that I've worked on, is they're in touch with their childlike side, you know, but you also got to be able to get stuff done. Because running a show, Pendleton Ward from Adventure Time, you know, same thing. They're, you know, you got to be able to get stuff done because running a show is really hard. It's all deadlines and like, oh, we got, we have this script is being animated, in Korea right now, but then we have this board that we pitched the other day that we're going to be recording, and then there's another one that's being written, and those guys, there's so many moving parts. I could never do it.
It's a lot of steps in different processes for different
episodes. So many balls in play that those guys, I've always been in awe that those guys can keep track of all that. So it's like running a factory.
Yeah.
But you gotta.
It's a fun factory, but it still has to work.
The product is very fun, but it takes a lot out of you, It's kind of like being president, You look at these guys and you go, wow, after a couple of terms, you go, wow, his hair is really gray now,
Yeah, I don't think a lot of
he looks a lot older than he did when he got elected,
People don't realize how much work goes into animation, not just on the animation side, but the voice acting side. It seems like
that's true.
People just sort of oh, it's a cartoon, cool. They don't get how long
people never pull down the facade of
that is kind of the main a huge misconception that I run into all the time, that it's just you just go to a place and you read out loud and you fart around and you have fun and then they pay you and you go home.
Well, I'm sure it is fun sometimes.
That is part of it, but it's also, you're reading scripts, you're auditioning all the time, you're getting turned down, you're not getting shows that you audition for all the time. Some of them you are getting. Some stuff, sometimes you're screaming your brains out like James Brown for 5 hours in a recording studio and going, oh man, and I gotta do SpongeBob tomorrow.
Oh man.
Yeah, and stuff like that. You gotta keep track of stuff. It's a really fun job, but it is a job. It's not work, or it's not all fun. It's work, and if you don't treat it like that, you won't last very long.
Yeah.
Well, I'll segue from there to.
I told you I wasn't good at short soundbite answers.
These are great
Case in
answers.
point.
This is great, yeah.
So the two sort of related questions. Fluffman Duff asks, when did you first discover your talent of your young-sounding voice?
Yeah.
Is it annoying to your friends and family? And then Trey West asks, how did you start voice acting? Did you show a talent for it as a child, or did it come later? And did you ever want to become more of a live-action actor? So that's a multi-layered sort of thing. But where did you
FMD and Trey are teaming up.
I guess when you were a kid, when did you sort of figure out that you could do this?
And wanted to do this?
I wanted to do it from a very early age. I would watch cartoons, and like you said, Mel Blanc, I would see that card at the beginning of the Looney Tunes. Voice characterizations by Mel Blanc. Yeah.
That's a person.
One guy did all that?
Wait a minute. Pre-Google, of course.
Yeah.
Pre-internet. So, I really was interested in it and how to do it, and guys that, who are these people that do it. And it was kind of hard to find out about it.
Yeah.
And
pull up the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. It was, there's like 2 books on animation then, and it, so I would say I always had the desire to do it, and then figuring out how to grab a glove and get in the game, is a little harder, So I started out as a stand-up and a writer and a sketch actor and an on-camera actor. I did all that stuff before I did voiceover. I had made, I made a living for 8 years as a stand-up comedian before I ever did a voiceover. And so I felt like by the time I finally was able to crack the glass ceiling of the voiceover thing, and I was very well aware of guys like Billy West and Rob Paulson, those guys and those guys were so good, and I so wanted to be in there with them. Charlie Adler, that was the big heads. He was both big heads on Rocko's Modern Life. Those were the guys that I would look at and go, God, I want to be playing with them. How do I get in there? And once I got my little foot in the door, which came from somebody seeing me do stand-up.
So did you do a lot of voices and characters in your stand-up?
Yeah. Not so much impressions, but I would do characters there's a guy I saw on the street the other day, or whatever, and it was applicable to voiceover, and it's hard to get in. Once you're in, it's a blast. Getting in is hard.
Yeah, it seemed. I just last night watched the documentary "I Know That Voice."
Right.
Yeah, it's
John DiMaggio's doc. Yeah, he's great.
Great.
And John did a great thing. I mean, he just made this love letter documentary to the voiceover community. Again, something that I never would have bitten off a job that huge,
Yeah.
you know, and he works every day too, you know.
That documentary is also great because it shows just how much work goes into all of these characters, and it kind of like shows like if you want to do this, it's not just hey, I have a goofy voice. It's something that you have to like really work towards.
And it also has to do with your mindset, you know, and your motives for doing it. Like I was just talking to somebody earlier today about it. Like, if you want to be like famous, if wanting to be famous and recognized is what drives you, then this probably isn't the job for you. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because, you know, people are asking me all the time, does it bug you that these characters, you know, are huge and nobody really knows you? And I say, does it bother me? Are you kidding?
It's pretty great.
It's
you can walk
it's
around.
it's a perk. That's the best thing about it. Not only is it not the worst thing about it, it's the best thing about it. But I think there are people, if you want to be famous, it probably ain't for you. But if you want
reality TV is your gig then.
Yeah, exactly. Be famous for 6 months on some reality show. You know, be Honey Boo Boo Squared or whatever. But I think you know what I love about voiceover, and it's also what I loved about stand-up, was that you know you work with creative, fun people, artists, writers, you know, other voiceover people, animators. You do fun stuff that makes people laugh and hopefully, you know, stays in the world enough years that people that are grown up come up to you and go, I loved you when I was a kid. You know, that's starting to happen to me quite a bit now. And, I had never even thought of that, you know, and it's really a cool byproduct of the job. You know, it's like, wow, I never thought of that. You know, I never had a long range plan, but I guess I've been doing this a long time, and I think you know it's a great way to make a living.
I was gonna say, just from watching that documentary, it's the world of actors is much smaller. Sort of compared to like live action. There's a handful of you guys who are just everywhere.
We all know each other.
Yeah,
and it's really a nice group of a ragtag group of misfits. You know, they're funny. They're funny, and everybody's, but very functional. You know, it's a very functional world, and it's kind of like far enough removed from like show business that like executives, at least at the recording sessions, aren't. You know, there's not a whole lot of suits sniffing around and stuff like that. You just, you know, they don't care. We're the ghetto. We're the ghetto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're kind of free to be in this fun laboratory where you just mess around and hopefully make stuff that's funny.
We're gonna move on to. I'm gonna start cherry picking because we're.
Because my answers are so damn long.
I wish we had 6 hours.
And you're like inadvertently answing.
That's all the questions. I figured. I'm like, so I think I can get 3 in one answer here.
I like this one a lot. From Vic Boss. What's the line that took you the most takes to do just because it was too funny? Is there any lines where you were cracking up?
Oh, yeah. You know, that it happens quite a bit. You know what I mean? Where there's just like. There's a lot of laughter and fun that goes on. Again, corny as that sounds, it is actually true. And there's an episode of SpongeBob called Sailor Mouth where SpongeBob and Patrick learn.
Where they learn to swear?
They learn an off-color word that's like written on a wall.
That's my favorite
And they
episode.
just start throwing it around like you did when you were a kid. And your parents go, "Where did you learn that?" And you're like, "I don't even know what I'm saying." And that was so when we were recording it. Steve Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, said, you know, just really cuss. Just really.
Because it's like a foghorn in the episode.
Yeah, he goes, we're going to bleep it out anyway, so just
Oh my! I want to get the original take from this.
I know.
So
I'm like, that's flying around. That's floating. Somebody's sitting on that, you know. Whatever, you know. Hopefully someday that will come out. But it's like J. Edgar Hoover, you know. It's going to be like 75 years from now.
SpongeBob tape.
Yeah, it's going to get released in the archives when it's no longer protected by the copyright.
It's like Nixon's phone conversations. Yeah. And that was maybe the hardest that we have ever left because we actually got the okay to let it rip. To let it rip.
Wow.
And hearing Mr. Krabs and Patrick, it's hard to go on. It was hard to go because it was blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so you like you said, you're friends with all the other like
Yeah,
big
yeah.
names. Do you guys ever make each other laugh by saying just terrible, atrocious things in character?
You know, I always say that there are few places more sick and twisted than a recording studio where a kid's cartoon is being done. And usually the younger the audience is intended.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. It's that compulsion.
The more ill things get. But I think that's just, a lot of us are comedians and have been comedy writers or stand-up comedians or whatever. So there is that thing deep in every comedian that just makes you want to say the most inappropriate thing just to see what'll happen, And in a recording studio, you kind of have this protected environment where you can just kind of like, whisper. And Billy West is the king of that stuff. And, Billy, he was. So yeah, it happens all the time.
Tamir2503 asks, how do you find the voice of a new character?
Wow. Well, it's all auditions, and every time you audition, like we were talking about, the pool of Navy SEAL go-to guys is relatively finite. So you know that when you get to that audition, or you send in your audition, they're going to be listening to you alongside Billy West, John DiMaggio, Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, Jim Cummings, Charlie Adler, and then there's a lot of other guys I'm not naming, younger guys too, Eric Bauza, people like that. And, you just sort of make your best guess. You have usually a picture of the character and a description of his personality. Sometimes they'll give you some clues. Think Cookie Monster meets Al Pacino or whatever. Like a lot of times it means nothing. You go, what? It is meaningless. Or a lot of times it'll be a guy like think such and such, and you go, you could probably get him.
Yeah.
He ain't working much. This guy that you're naming.
You can get the actual voice.
Yeah, I think he's around. I saw him sitting in a coffee shop yesterday. So, L.A. being L.A. But so you really do just kind of like take all those. It's really reading tea leaves.
What was it like? What was it like developing the voice of SpongeBob? When did you know that you had it, and what kind of did you shoot for when aiming for that voice?
Steve Hillenburg had a really super clear idea of what he wanted, and his description of the character was very it was very descriptive. He's a kid, but he's not a child. It's not like a Charlie Brown real kid voice, but he's not really a grown up either, even though he lives in a house by himself and has a job and stuff like that. He's like a 6-year-old that lives alone and has a job thing, Pee Wee Herman meets a Munchkin, meets there's a couple other things in there. And it was it was kind of, the signposts were very clear.
Yeah, it was very guided.
Yeah, he was very great, because sometimes that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes these guys don't know what they're looking for.
Yeah, I was
You're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, and
if it's a blank slate,
sometimes
they bring 10 guys in. Is it just 10 completely different?
And sometimes if you're throwing stuff around and nothing's connecting, you just feel like a boob. You're just like you're trying too hard, or you flop sweat. You're just like, now I'm embarrassed. You're just like, dang, I'm giving everything here. I'm not scoring. But it's when it does score and you really do connect with the ball and the voice. They go, that's what we're looking for. Even though I've been doing it for a long time, like it still feels great.
Like it's still a home run like SpongeBob.
And not just like sometimes it's even like a show that doesn't hit at all.
Or a video game.
Or a video game.
Spyro?
Video games are hard. Spyro. Spyro is something that, because of the age of the people that played the game, they're just starting to get to the point where they're how old are you guys?
30.
like 30 old people. So, I see them sometimes, like you said, with their own kids.
Yeah.
I just had somebody come up with a bunch of Spyro stuff for me to sign the other night. Like, just came up to me in a bookstore with a bunch of Spyro stuff. Like, they must have run home and got it. And, that was a job that took me an hour.
Oh, wow.
In 1990, whatever. You know what I mean? And so I sort of dumped that file.
Yeah.
And then it didn't come up again for a long time, because there were other Spyros after me, one of whom was Frodo.
Oh,
Elijah Wood.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you couldn't think of it either. Well, you guys are nerds. Come on. I give you Frodo and you had nothing. But it was, there were other Spyros before me and after me, I think, and you just don't think of it as being like this important part of your canon or whatever.
Yeah.
But you realize that everything you do is somebody's biggest thing. Like even if it's a show that went on to obscurity, there's somebody obsessing over it somewhere. And if you look at my IMDb, it's littered with shows that were short-lived. But a lot of those short-lived shows were the ones that some kid that was 10 in whatever year it was,
connected with it.
Connected with it, and now they're grown-ups and they're coming up to you and telling you how much they connected with it. And you're like, damn, that's wild.
Well, and then your voice varies so much that there's stuff that we didn't even recognize as you watching, and we were going through oh my god, oh my god.
All right, that is the best thing you can say to a voice actor.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can say is, "Hey, yeah, I heard that. I thought that was you on that thing."
It sounded like SpongeBob.
It sounded like a whole bunch of other crap that you've done, and then you go, "Oh, okay." But if somebody goes, "I had no idea that you were this guy and this guy," then you go, "Yeah," that just feels so good.
Well, you're welcome.
I'm telling you, what you just did, that puts that'll put a spring in my step all day. But it's people don't realize when people connect the dots.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of stuff like commercials and stuff like that people really don't connect. You know what I mean? Because it's so. And I don't have a Facebook page. I don't have Twitter. I'm not, hey, I just did a commercial for this car or whatever. So people really don't know that it's all that this cartoon character is this cartoon character, and he's also this cartoon character.
And it's probably good to keep it that way sometimes too.
I kind of like it because then it's like a little Easter egg for people. Yeah, it's like a time release film, but they don't put it together. The cartoon guy is also the guy going, "It's America's most trusted brand," stuff like that. They're not even.
Do you do a lot of ad work?
Yeah.
Is it mostly just like a straight sort of voice, or?
It's funny lately. Maybe as I age and my voice gets gravelier, but I realize that lately I'm kind of on this streak where I'm that guy a lot more.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
do not take.
Yeah, exactly. Two people in claw-footed bathtubs holding hands in a meadow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If the erection lasts longer than 3 hours, call your doctor.
Yeah.
Call my wife.
Oh yeah. Get her there first, then call the doctor. How much input do you have into the scripts you're reading? Are any of the lines ad-libbed?
Yes, lines are ad-libbed, and we've been doing, especially in. I assume we're talking about SpongeBob, but
I would say across all shows. SpongeBob,
SpongeBob, we've been doing it long enough, and the characters are well established enough that we've always ad-libbed on SpongeBob. Like they were always open to that, and stuff gets in and stuff doesn't get in. It's kind of like any ad-lib. We always do a couple as scripted, and then we do what they call their shits and giggles pass, where you anything goes as long as you should try to make it usable.
Yeah.
It can't be ad-libs of a nature that don't help the show and couldn't get.
Is there anyone that you can think of that you were like, I nailed this, and they actually put it in the episode, and you can look back and be like, that was my line?
Yeah. That happens all the time, and same with the Ice King on Adventure Time.
Sounds like a really creative kind of outlet for it. Yeah.
They're very. It's a really collaborative art form. So it's not like people are territorial like. You must honor my words on the page. No ad-libbing, please. It's just like, hey, if you can think of a way to plus something or add to it, then go for it. And sometimes you do that, and you go, what was on the page is better, And then sometimes the opposite. You go, wow, they'll go, do that again. That's funny. So that's one of the things that I really like about it, and also, one of the skills that I feel like the years that I spent doing stand-up. Are very helpful, it wasn't a waste. You're kind of like, oh, okay, like that. I was actually developing. I'm actually developing that skill set that actually came in handy later. Who knew? But it's you do ad lib stuff, and in the case of SpongeBob, a lot. And Rocko's Modern Life there was a lot of ad libbing, and Powerpuff Girls, the mayor would go off book occasionally. so yeah, they're very open. It's not a super ego-driven business, which is a nice.
It sounds very collaborative.
Which is a nice, like I always say, it's like, those giant puppets that you see walking around like Paris, like when they do like those Jules Verne festivals where they have those puppets that are like 10 stories tall, and it's just like a million people or 30 people working them.
Yeah, working together.
It's like That's what being in animation is like. And like, you know, I'm the string that works the voice, and that's what I'm in charge of. And then, you know, the other people are in charge of other strings. But if it's all working together, then you can really make it look like, you know, it's this illusion that these drawings are real and
Yeah,
that,
it's like
that the
it's
people
so seamless
are real.
I mean, growing up, you're just like you were saying earlier, it just kind of appears, and it's just this magic that's on screen.
Yeah, you don't
that
think about
how much goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and nor should you be.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's kind of like music when I was growing up. I didn't even realize I could go to a concert when I was really young. It
Right.
was like just that happens.
Yeah, and you know, they're very similar, and most voiceover people tend to be musical.
Okay.
And I think it's a similar thing. Like music will just draw you in. Like listen to a song you like or a record you like or whatever it put you in a different place. And I think cartoons are like that too, because they're not of this world.
Yeah, technically out of this world.
They're a different reality, and you know, the strange thing is, not that I'm thinking about this, like when I was a kid, like cartoons were in a way more real than real life. Like I never thought that the Brady Bunch and people like that were a real family.
Yeah, exactly.
But Underdog and Bullwinkle and Rocky seemed like they were real people.
You can imagine
Butch and Daffy
a
seemed like they were well-rounded personalities that you could hang out with.
It wasn't too far-fetched that a rabbit would be pulling tricks on a duck to try to confuse him or something.
Because they were written so real and voiced so real, whereas most of the sitcoms were phony baloney that even as a little kid, I go, yeah, okay, that's stuff they filmed and this.
And the canned laughter.
These people that are playing
yeah.
siblings just met at the audition or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, after a certain age, you just, you know all that.
Yeah, it kind of drops the facade. But yeah, it's a magical gateway when you're a kid.
But cartoons are still like that for me.
Whenever I see guys like you in front of the mic.
When I discover some crazy new cartoon, like, or something, my kids will turn me on to some cartoon they're watching, like there's still cartoons that give me that
feeling, yeah.
Feeling when I watch, not stuff that I'm in, but like when I watch something that I haven't been involved in. Like regular show is like that. Like, you know, I
love Bravest Warriors. I think that the cat bug voice is one of the best voices. And it's that little kid.
Great. And you know, regular show on Cartoon Network. Like that's a show that I'm not on, but it's when my kids started watching it and I came in, I was like, I was there. You know, it drew me in.
Are you a fan of any like adult, like actual adult humor stuff, like
I do
Archer, South Park?
Yeah, I do a show called Brickleberry that's on MTV, and then there's an anthology show on MTV called Trip Tank.
Yeah.
That my wife and I do a lot of voices on, and then I also do preschool stuff.
Yeah.
And then in between stuff for Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, SpongeBob. So, you know, it's kind of all over the place, and I love doing all of it. Like it's fun doing stuff for 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's fun doing stuff for 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and it's fun.
It must be like one of the only professions where you can entertain, like leave one job where you're entertaining 30-year-olds with their level of humor, and then go and educate or entertain kids as young as 3 and 4.
Literally in the same day.
Yeah.
You know, so you'll be doing something that's, you know, NC-17 rated, and then you'll just get in your car and drive, and then you'll be, you know, teaching a kid how to read.
Wow.
You know, so it's like, they're both really fun in their own way. You know, it's not like one sucks and one is a blast. They're both very. They have their own rewards. Each has its own reward. So.
Do you have a last one? It doesn't need to be on the list or anything.
No, I mean, I guess it's just like
anything on this page. Or are we done with that page?
Yeah, we
jumped around because you pretty much, we were like reading through it and you're like, hey, you covered that. You covered that.
See, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not really a question, but I just want to say, like, even though the facade has been lifted, like, I still, whenever I see voice actors like in the studio doing stuff, it's still just like, what the hell?
Cool.
It's cool that it still amazes me.
Yeah,
Well, it's fun to
way.
do, you know. And sometimes people like especially little kids, like there was a screening of the SpongeBob movie a couple of days
Does it
ago.
scare them?
First time, yeah. Yes. It does. It's kind of like being Santa Claus at the mall. You know what I mean? Because parents are always pushing their kids into it. Go on, talk to him. This is the SpongeBob man. Do the SpongeBob voice. And you go, you know, I don't really think that. Do it. He'll love it. You know, and you go, and the kid just goes, you know, and you go, God, you know, I think I just ruined this kid's life. Yeah. But then kids above a certain age are fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Like, and that age is pretty young. Like most kids, maybe 7, 8 years old and up have been watching like the split screen, behind the scenes DVD extra.
Well, they can now. Yeah, it's different now.
You know what I mean? It's different now. There's always a DVD extra showing
There's gonna be some
Ray
4-year-old that
Romano
watches
doing
this
the
show
Mammoth
and
or
ruins
whatever. Yeah, and so those kids are fascinated by it. Like they just start laughing.
Yeah.
Like when they see like a grown up, middle-aged guy just go, they go, do it again.
Yeah.
But real little kids, like preschool age,
freaks them out.
It's too much worlds colliding.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
cognitive
they
dissonance.
freak out, and you really do feel like.
Right, so when I have a kid, don't bring him around Tom Kenny.
You know what? Your kid will probably be much smarter and sophisticated than the goofballs that I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding. But I think, below a certain age, it's not a good idea.
So how do you keep your own children from figuring out stuff like that?
They grew up surrounded by voiceover people. Kevin Michael Richardson, that's a guy that I didn't mention in my litany of other guys. He's Gus the dinosaur on Uncle Grandpa. He's really great. And my kids grew up with guys like that around, like just real beautiful eccentrics. You know what I mean? Like just really cool people. So, artists, musicians, animators, voiceover people, that's kind of like always been my kids' world. My dad was like an accountant for an air conditioning company. So I never met any bohemians. You know what I mean? Like when I first started like meeting people that made their living creatively, it was like, whoa,
I can do this?
I've been wanting this like my whole life. I've been looking for these people. But like my kids, it's just kind of they grew up in cartoon land, and
I guess can we end do you have any inspiring words for people that are out there right now
you
watching?
do it in character.
Well, which camera am I saying it to? That one?
Go this one here,
man, chase your dreams, live your dreams. No, I mean anything that I say just sounds so trite and cornball, but it really is
true. It's like
keep on pushing, keep learning more about the thing you want to do, and just. There's no such thing as wasted time. It's just, whatever you want to do, it might not be cartoon related at all, but just keep on learning more about it and just get out and do it. Get out and do it. There's so many places to put your work now. Just put it out there.
It's so easy for you to just.
There's all these outlets
and
it's out there. And just it'll get seen. It might take a little while. I wanted to do voiceovers long before I ever booked my first voiceover.
Yeah.
It was years and years and years. And then I did Rocko, and then Rocko ended, and then I didn't do another voiceover for like a year and a half. And I was just thinking, I guess that was it. Yeah, wow, I guess that was it. Well, that was fun while it lasted.
Little did you know what was around the corner.
I guess that was my cartoon career. It was a blast. But, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. It gets better.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. That was great.
Is there any way we could get this is SpongeBob SquarePants and you're watching Ricky and Elliot on ETC?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is SpongeBob SquarePants, and you're watching Ricky and Elliot on ETC.
I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Cool, man. I love it. That's
awesome.
cool.
Thank you so much.
I'm the happiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.